They say hospitals never truly die. Even when the patients are gone, even when the lights go out, something stays, breathing through the walls. I used to think that was just a figure of speech, until I took the job at St. Dyers Hospital. It started the same way it always does. Money problems, too many bills, not enough days. I'd been out of work for 6 months, sleeping in a one-room apartment with paper-thin walls and a landlord who knocked harder every week. When I saw the ad, night watchman needed, St. Dyers Memorial Hospital, $24 an hour, overnight shifts only. I didn't think twice. Hospitals, I figured, were quiet, safe, and an abandoned one? Even better. No people, no patients, no noise. Just me and the night. The interview was at the city office, not the hospital itself. A woman named Mrs. Crane handled it, mid-50s, calm, almost rehearsed. She didn't ask about experience, didn't even glance at my resume. Just slid a folder across the table. Inside was a short contract, a flashlight, and a folded sheet of paper titled Night Procedures. "Read these carefully," she said. "They're not guidelines, they're rules. Follow them exactly, and you'll be fine." I remember laughing a little. Rules. Like what? No smoking on the job? She didn't smile, not even a twitch. Instead, she leaned forward and said, "You'll understand by sunrise." The hospital sat on the outskirts of town, a 5-story building of crumbling concrete, boarded windows, and overgrown ivy. St. Dyers had closed almost 20 years ago after a fire gutted the east wing. No one had rebuilt. No one wanted to. The locals said it was cursed. I arrived just before 10:30 p.m. The security office was in a separate maintenance building beside the main structure. A single bulb flickered above the door. Inside waited an older man, maybe late 60s, hunched over a thermos of coffee.
"Name's Owen," he said, his voice rough from years of night shifts. "You're the new guy, right? God help you." He handed me a keyring, a radio, and another copy of the rules, the same ones from the folder, but this one looked worn, smudged with fingerprints. Owen tapped the list with a bony finger. "Don't treat these like a joke. They keep you alive." The rules of St. Dyers Hospital. 1. Start your patrol at exactly 11 p.m. The building does not like lateness. 2. Never use the main elevators after midnight. Take the stairs if you value your reflection. 3. If you hear the intercom crackle, do not respond. No one is calling you. 4. The East Wing burned down in 2005. Do not approach it. It isn't empty. 5. Between 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., do not look at the patient room windows from the courtyard. 6. If the nurse at the front desk asks for help, ignore her. She's not on staff anymore. 7. Leave only when the clock in the security office reads 6 a.m. sharp. If the clock stops, wait until it moves again. Owen sighed, folding the list back up. Keep your head down, follow those, and maybe you'll last longer than the last guy. I chuckled nervously. What happened to him? Owen's face stayed blank. He stopped following the rules. By 11, I was inside the main building. The air was colder than outside, sterile, heavy with the scent of metal and dust. My flashlight beam cut across empty hallways lined with peeling paint and old wheelchairs. Every step echoed. Every sound bounced back like the building was listening. I walked the first floor, checking doors, counting time. Everything felt wrong, but not in a horror movie way. More like walking into someone's dream where everything looked familiar but slightly off. Some rooms still had beds. Sheets covered the furniture. One had a child's drawing pinned to the wall. A stick figure holding hands with another, smaller figure under the words, "Thank you, Nurse M." I moved on. 11:30, 12, nothing. Just the hum of old vents. Until the elevator dinged. The sound came from the west corridor. I froze, remembering rule number 2, never use the main elevators after midnight.
but my watch said 11:59. Not yet midnight. Still, the doors slid open with a metallic groan. The inside was pitch black. The floor indicator light flickered between B and 5, unable to decide. I took one step closer, just to check. The temperature dropped, my breath fogged. Inside the elevator, I saw movement, faint, like someone shifting in the dark. Then a whisper. "You're early." I stumbled back. The doors closed by themselves. When I checked my watch again, it was 12:03. I ran the rest of my patrol, heart pounding, trying to convince myself it was a trick, an echo, old wiring, maybe Owen testing me. But when I returned to the security office, Owen was gone. His thermos was still warm. The radio crackled once, then hissed into silence. On the desk, I found a new note written in shaky handwriting. "If the elevator speaks, you've already been noticed." That was my first night at St. Dyers, and the last time I thought I was alone there. Because what came next wasn't the building watching me. It was the patients. People always ask why I didn't quit right then, why I didn't take my keys, walk out into the cold, and never look back. And maybe if I had, none of this would have followed me home. But fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It's just your imagination. And you believe it, because the truth is so much worse. So I came back for night 2. Owen wasn't there when I arrived. His shift was supposed to overlap mine by half an hour, but the maintenance shed was dark. Just the flashlight waiting for me on the hook, like someone had placed it there in a hurry. I checked the time. 11:47 p.m. I sat alone for 13 silent minutes, trying not to look at the hospital looming through the window. Noticing things I didn't see before. Some windows looked darker than others. Like they weren't reflecting the night, they were absorbing it. At 11 sharp, I started my patrol. The west corridor greeted me with the familiar hum of dying lights. My footsteps echoed back, but not in sync, like someone was walking a half beat behind me. I stopped. The echo didn't. My throat tightened. I spoke into the walkie. "Owen, you there?" Static, a soft click like someone pressed a button on the other side, but no voice, just breathing. Slow, shallow, close. I shut the radio off. I forced myself to keep moving, past old patient rooms with open doors like yawning mouths, past the nurse's station where the swivel chair still spun slightly though I hadn't touched it. I tried to avoid the main elevator completely. Rule number 2 burned in my mind. But that's when I saw the front desk, and her, a nurse, mid-30s maybe, wearing a crisp white uniform that didn't match the dust and decay around her. Her back was to me. She was writing something, over and over, furious strokes of a pen ripping the paper. I remembered rule number 6. If the nurse at the front desk asks for help, ignore her. She's not on staff anymore. But what if she doesn't ask? What if she just stands there, waiting? I should have walked away, but curiosity is a rot. You don't feel it until it's too late. So I said, "Excuse me, are you okay?" She stopped writing, completely. Her head tilted, not turning, tilting like a broken marionette listening for strings. Then she said quietly, "You're not supposed to be here yet." I blinked, confused, and in that blink, she was gone. The papers on the desk fluttered from an unfelt breeze. I approached slowly. There was only one line written on every sheet. 2:17 a.m. Don't look. My patrol continued, faster now, fear turning into urgency. Hallways stretching longer than they should, doors shifting position, I swear they did. Around 1:30 a.m., I stopped to check my map. That's when the intercom crackled to life. A soft, broken voice. "Room 307. Need assistance, please?" My grip tightened around the radio. Rule number 3. Do not respond. No one is calling you. But the voice came again, trembling, painful. "Help, please. It hurts." I tried to focus on breathing. 1, 2, 3. "Please, I'm still awake down here." The scream rattled the walls. Then silence. Cold, heavy, suffocating silence. At 1:59, I reached the courtyard doors. Ahead was the east wing, burned-out skeleton of rooms once filled with life.
And the windows, lined up like watching eyes. Rule number 5. Between 2 and 2:30 a.m., do not look at the patient room windows from the courtyard. So I turned my head away, but I could feel it. The pressure of impossible stairs, hands pressing against glass that shouldn't exist. Inside my mind, a voice, calm and near. They see you. I shut my eyes tight, counted seconds to 2:30. Every one felt like a minute drowning in ice. When time finally moved, I bolted, back toward the stairwell, away from the windows. I slammed the door behind me and leaned against it, shaking. That's when I heard it. Footsteps on the stairs above me. Slow, deliberate. One step down, then a pause, then another step, closer. My flashlight flickered. The air got colder. A soft voice drifted down the stairwell. We remember you. I didn't stay to learn why. I ran. I ran like hell. All the way back to the security office, heart trying to tear its way out of my chest. When I entered, the lights were already on, and sitting in the chair, sipping his coffee, was Owen. Like nothing had happened. He glanced up with tired eyes. You're shaking. That's good. Means you're learning. I tried to speak, to ask where he'd been, but he raised a hand. Night's not over. Don't get comfortable. Just wait. He checked his watch. The real shift starts at 2:17. My blood ran cold. That time was the warning the nurse left. 2:17 a.m. Don't look. Owen leaned forward. Shadows carved his face into something older than he should be. If someone tries to leave tonight, don't stop them, but don't watch them go either. I swallowed hard. What happens if I do? He stared at the wall, voice cracking. They take your place. Outside, the halls were waking up. Doors slamming, call bells ringing deep in the building where no one lived. And at 2:17 a.m., every single light in the hospital went out. When the lights went out, the dark didn't feel empty. It felt crowded. I couldn't see my own hands. The hospital swallowed everything, the walls, the floors, even the sound of my breathing. And then there was a click. The emergency backup lights flickered on, weak and red, like blood behind eyelids. Shadows stretched too far, bending at wrong angles. My radio buzzed once. A voice spoke, not Owen's. They're awake. Keep your eyes forward. I whispered, Owen? Static answered. I forced myself back into the hallway. The red lights pulsed like a heartbeat, slow, then faster, like something was getting closer. Doors that were once closed now stood slightly open. Metal beds glided quietly across floors inside rooms where I swore no one stood. A low hum filled the air, growing, vibrating in my teeth, like the building itself was inhaling. And a thought appeared, not spoken, but placed inside my skull. Don't run. They notice movement. My knees almost buckled. I stepped forward, stiff, mechanical, each step quiet as prayer. Behind me, footsteps followed, soft, bare, human. I didn't look back. I didn't breathe. Until... Excuse me? A whisper, inches behind my ear. My whole body turned cold. Could you help me find my room? I shut my eyes. Tears blurred my vision. Rule number 3, do not respond. No one is calling you. I stayed silent. The thing behind me exhaled, a rattling breath full of dust and embers. I'm alone, and I'm cold.
Something cold brushed my neck. I bit down on my lip until I tasted blood, anything to keep from answering. Then I heard it. Bones snapping, skin stretching, the voice shifting from desperate to angry. Why won't you look at me? I ran. I didn't think. I just ran. Footsteps exploding through the hallway, screams behind me rising in pitch.
A sharp metal slam echoed. A door ahead slammed shut on its own. I yanked it open, stumbled inside, slammed it shut again. Silence. I turned. I was in the morgue. Rows of metal drawers, some sealed, some slightly open. A naked bulb flickered overhead, swinging, though the air was still. A gurney sat in the center, a body covered with a stained sheet. My breath caught in my throat. The sheet rose. Something underneath sat upright. I backed into a cabinet, heart punching my ribs. The sheet fell away. Nothing there. Just an empty, cold slab. But across the room, a figure now stood. A patient gown. Bald head. Skin tight against bone like wet paper. Its mouth opened, too wide, stretching into a silent scream. Then the bulb went out, and it grabbed me.
Hands like ice clamped onto my wrists, claws pressing into veins, not breaking skin, just holding me in place. In the dark, it whispered directly into my mind. We died with our eyes open. You must too. I thrashed, kicked, knocked into a tray of instruments. Metal clattered. Something sharp sliced my arm. I screamed. Light blasted back on. I was alone. Body dripping sweat, blood trickling down my sleeve. The drawers were now all open. Every single one. I stumbled out, dizzy, leaving a trail of red. A voice called down the hall. "Hey!" Owen. He ran toward me, flashlight bouncing. "Rule number 7, he yelled. "Aim for the office, now!" I staggered beside him, nearly collapsing. What's happening?" I gasped. Owen didn't slow. "This is the hour of the dead. We don't patrol during it, we survive it." We reached the security office door. Owen shoved it open.
But inside, someone was already sitting in Owen's chair. A man, young, terrified eyes. He looked right at us and whispered, "Please, don't make me go back out there." Owen froze, face white as the walls. I whispered, confused, "Owen, who is that?" His voice broke. "That's the last night guard." The young man reached a trembling hand toward us, desperate. "Trade places with me, please. I want to go home." His skin started to blister, bubbling like heat beneath flesh, as if invisible hands dragged him backward. He screamed, nails tearing into the desk, leaving bloody streaks. And then the room swallowed him whole. Gone. The door slammed. Lights flickered. Owen whispered, shaking, "That's what happens when you look as they leave." I was choking on fear, lungs tight. "Owen," I managed, "why me? Why this place?" He closed his eyes.
Because St. Dyers never closed, they just ran out of living patients. He pressed his forehead to the wall, broken. Once the hospital notices you, you're on the schedule. Suddenly, the clock on the wall froze. 2:52 a.m. Owen stared at it with terror. No, not that. Anything but that. I stepped back. What does that mean? Owen grabbed my arm, nails digging into skin. If time stops, the hospital chooses someone. A chill spilled through the room. My radio crackled. A familiar voice whispered, "We choose you." Massive static stab, heart monitor flatline. The walls began to pulse, veins of light spreading like arteries. The hospital alive. Something huge moved above us, like a stampede of bodies crawling across the ceiling. Owen shoved me toward the door. "Run. Don't look up, don't slow down." I sprinted into the hallway. Red lights flared, alarms wailing, doors slamming open. As silhouettes spilled out, arms reaching, I ran until the world blurred.
My lungs burned, my vision dimmed, and then, without warning, everything went silent. I stood at the hospital entrance, the doors behind me sealed shut. The sky was turning pale. 6 a.m. I was outside. I was alive, but the security office clock had only moved 5 minutes. Owen limped out behind me, older than yesterday, eyes dead tired. If you come back tonight, the hospital will finish checking you in. He pressed the rule sheet into my bloody hand, the ink now rewritten, a new line scratched at the bottom. 8. If you try to quit, the hospital will admit you permanently. Owen lit a cigarette with trembling hands. You've got 12 hours, kid. Use them wisely. Because that night, St. Dyers learned my name, and hospitals never forget their patients. I didn't sleep, couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that frozen clock, 2:52 a.m., the moment the hospital chose me. I spent the day trying to convince myself it was stress, hallucinations, sleep deprivation. But then I looked in the mirror, a patient wristband around my arm. Where my cut had bled in the morgue, the band had grown out of my skin. St. Dyers Memorial Hospital. Patient, unknown. Status, admitted. I tore at it, skin ripping, but the band didn't move. That's when I realized I wasn't working there anymore. I was a patient. Night came anyway. It always does. I arrived at the hospital at 10:30 p.m., same as before. Except now, the front doors slid open for me. No key, no resistance, like a mouth welcoming food. The air inside was warm, alive. Lights glowed softly, not flickering. Steady, comforting even. I found Owen in the lobby, sitting in a wheelchair this time. His face, older, like he aged decades in a single day. Owen, what's happening to us?
He looked up, eyes wet. St. Dyers isn't broken, it's hungry. He struggled to breathe. Hospitals are meant to keep people alive, but when that purpose ends, instinct takes over. He gestured around at the glowing hallways. It keeps the dead alive now, and it needs the living to maintain circulation. I whispered, horrified. Circulation? Owen nodded. You do the night shift, you become the night shift. The intercom crackled sharply. For the first time, a clear voice. Code blue, room 522, family arrival imminent. Owen went pale. It's you. They're calling you upstairs. He grabbed my sleeve. Kid, I need you to understand. I died 6 years ago. My heart stopped. Owen smiled weakly, teeth loose and gray. I just kept showing up for work. The wheelchair began to roll backward on its own, dragging him away into the dark.
He didn't fight it. He just whispered, "Don't check in." And then he was gone. I climbed the stairs to the 5th floor, each step heavier than the last. Room numbers blurred, signs faded, until only one remained illuminated. 522, intensive care. Inside was a single bed, lights bright and sterile, and on the bed, me, pale, tubes in my arms, eyes closed, like I'd been asleep for days. Machines beeped steadily. I stumbled closer, heart splitting in terror. No, this isn't real. But the body on the bed opened its eyes. Same eyes as mine. It smiled, weak, cold. We left us alone too long. I backed away, shaking. Who are you? The thing sat up, bones cracking in slow motion. You didn't come to check on us, so we came looking for you. Every heartbeat hurt.
Where's the real me? It tilted its head Owen style. There is no real you anymore. There's just the patient and the symptom. The monitors exploded into alarms, flatline screaming. My double stood up, limbs stiff, inhuman. It stepped toward me. Don't worry, we'll take good care of you. I ran. Hallways stretched, doors slammed, lights flickered violently. Every speaker blared, "Patient is attempting to leave. Begin sedation." Hands burst from doorways, grabbing, tearing at my clothes, voices chanting, "Stay with us, stay, stay, stay." I crashed into the stairwell, flew down the steps, blood and panic mixing into adrenaline. The front doors loomed, just a few feet more. They didn't open. Glass warped as if melting into bone. Behind me, dozens of feet rushed closer. A voice spoke from everywhere. "You forgot rule number 8. My vision blurred. Pressure like a vice closed around my skull. I screamed, "I quit!" A pause. A silence so deep it erased the world. Then, the glass shattered outward. Cold air punched my lungs. I fell onto the pavement, body thrashing, reality tearing open behind me like a wound. The hospital's facade twisted, windows stretching into screaming mouths, walls pulsing like flesh. It roared, "Check, back, in." And then, everything went white. Sunlight warmed my face. I was lying on the curb near my apartment. No blood, no band, no wounds. For a second, I believed I escaped.
Until I noticed the people staring, phones recording. Their shock wasn't from me. It was from the massive structure now standing behind them, towering over the neighborhood where it never existed before. St. Dyers Memorial Hospital. Emergency. Open 24/7. Right next to my apartment building. Like it had followed me home. My phone buzzed. A notification. Reminder night shift. Starts at 11 p.m. Location. St. Dyers, 0.1 kilometers away. Patient 522. My hands shook violently. The final message appeared. Once admitted, no one is discharged. I am the symptom now. And tonight, I have to go back. Because hospitals don't forget their patients. They come to collect them.